One of the exciting things about focusing on the Lord's Prayer, like we are doing in this series, is that you already kind of know that you are immune to it. You already kind of know that when you recite it and say it, it doesn't really stick with you. It's almost like you're not even aware of what it means, the words that you're saying. And we all kind of know that. We're aware of that. We would be the first to admit it. You know, I've prayed it so many times, and yet, even as the words come out of my mouth, I hardly have any awareness of the significance of it and the importance of it, how necessary it is that I pray this prayer. So what makes it exciting then is that at the same time we know, well, there's buried treasure here, right? There's riches here. There's really good stuff. In fact, if somebody, you would be the first one to defend that. You would be the first one to say, oh no, it's important. Like if somebody said to you, you know what, the Lord's Prayer is not really that useful. It's just a meaningless prayer. Right? There's no significance to it or anything. What's the problem?
Prayer card. There's no prayer card anywhere because it's just.
So if somebody said to you, the Lord's Prayer is just a senseless prayer, it's worthless, it has no meaning, what would you say to them after you got done looking at Toshko getting a prayer card? You would say to them, the first thing you would say is, no, I disagree with that. The Lord's Prayer is a very important prayer. It's a prayer that Jesus taught us to pray, so by definition, it's significant. It's important. The only problem is that I haven't spent any time thinking about it. I don't really know what it means. I just say it carelessly. That's what you would say. That's why I don't have an awareness of it. That's why I'm kind of mindless when I say it. The only problem is I just haven't thought about it. So today, our mission is to uncover the riches of the fourth petition. All right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the riches of this prayer that has been commanded us to pray. Give us this day our daily bread. All right, now many people have noticed this, that the first three petitions of the Lord's Prayer are all about God, right? You've got, hallowed be thy name. You've got, God, let your kingdom come. And then you've got, God, may everybody obey your will. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Only then, after you have prayed that, do you get to praying for human need. A lot of people have noticed this, and the reason that it is significant is because only after you have made it your deepest desire that God's will be done. You see that? That's the first part of the prayer. Only after that are you in the right frame of mind to start praying about human need. You got to start there. You got to start with God. Otherwise, guess what? Your prayers are going to be wrong. Your prayers are going to be crooked. Your prayers are going to be foolish, misguided prayers, maybe even harmful prayers. Oh, you think you're praying, but you haven't even done the first part with focusing up on the glory of God. Oh God, it's all about you. May you be glorified. That first, then I'm going to get to the human needs. So that's got to come first, and then once it does, then Jesus says, all right, now pray like this. Give us this day our daily bread. Now, one thing that's going to help you a lot in your prayer life when you pray this prayer is if you have the same awareness in your own heart and in your mind that the disciples had. They must have had. They would have had this awareness, which is that when Jesus tells you to pray, give us this day our daily bread, he's making reference to the Old Testament. Disciples saw it right away. They would have understood that right away, and you need to too, because that's where the richness comes from. That's where the deepness comes from. So if you say, where in the Old Testament does it talk about daily bread? Where in the Old Testament does it talk about daily bread? Obviously the answer is manna. Now maybe that hadn't occurred to you before, but that's a really important connection to make. That's what Jesus is referring to. Manna. Now, the only problem is, what is the meaning of manna? What's the meaning of manna? What does it mean? What's the lesson in the manna? And so what I want to do is kind of give you a quick summary of chapter 16 of Exodus, where we read about the manna, and I'm going to summarize it with just 3 words: promise, crisis, and the key word, instruction. So God has made a promise. We call that promise the covenant. God promised that he will bring the Israelites to a land that is filled with milk and honey. Right? Not a land that's filled with manna. It's a land that's filled with milk and honey. That's part of his covenant promise. It's part of the grand destiny, as you Bethelites know. It's part of the grand destiny of God's plan to use the Israelites to be a blessing to the whole world. He promised that I'm going to bless you so that you may be a blessing. All the nations of the earth will be blessed through you. But no sooner does God bring Israel out of Egypt with a mighty arm than immediately there is a crisis. There's no food. There's no water. You know, back in Egypt they had food and they had water, but now they're in the desert and there is no food and there's no water, and the people freak out, just like we would. It's a crisis. They're literally ready to kill Moses, just like we are ready to kill political leaders when our economy goes a little bit south. We freak out. They freak out. Crisis. And so at this critical moment, what happens? When there's no food and no water, God provides manna. But if that is all that you say, if that's your only answer to what the meaning of manna is, then you kind of miss the whole point, because God not only gave manna to the people, but what else did he give them? Folks, he gave them instructions, extremely important instructions. That's, when you read the passage, that's why I wanted to have that read to you this morning. There's instructions that go along with it. First of all, God is going to provide it each day. Secondly, you have to go out and gather it. And thirdly, you only gather enough for that day. Just gather enough for your family. You do not store it up. That's really key. Except on the day before the Sabbath, then you take twice as much. But you cannot store it up. Now, I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on this, but if we ask, what is the lesson here? What is God teaching the people at this point? We could sum it up in one word, which is dependence. He was teaching them, I put 2 D's there because he's teaching them daily dependence. Daily dependence. It's the key lesson of the manna. He's really saying to the people, folks, you have got to learn to depend on what? Me. You have to learn to depend on me. You're not doing it, and you've got to learn to depend on me. You're having a problem with this. Everybody has a problem with this. You don't depend on me, and you have to learn to depend on me, and you have to depend on me daily. Let me say it like this. Your prayer life is going to have more life to it, more fire to it, more spice to it, when there's a daily rhythm to it. Kind of like what Akka was saying. You know, when you get up, you have to pray. Watch it. Watch the life of your prayer life get richer. When you wake up and you know this is not optional. I have to pray. I've got to get with God. I've got to pray. I depend upon it. Give us this day our daily bread. It's built right into the prayer, right? I mean, if somebody says to you, how often should I pray that prayer? Would you say once a week? Oh, I think once a month should do it. No, it's right in the prayer. Give us this day our daily bread. You have to pray it every day. Why aren't you praying this? I know why. You're not depending on God. So that's the first point. This is the first point. It's really important to pray this prayer of trust and dependence every day. If you're a person who is a child of God, that is, if you are one of God's own people, then God wants you to learn to trust Him on a daily basis. You do not have what you need for this day without praying for it, depending on God for it. You have to go to God to get it. Now let me just say a word about what we are talking about when we say daily bread. Now, I'm not sure what you think about when you... Oh, this would be an interesting discussion question if we were in low-tech church, but what do you picture when you say, give us this day our daily bread? Is it a bologna sandwich? No, it's not, right, Toshko? You never pictured a bologna sandwich. Some people do. Mike's doing it right now. Everybody thinks of something different. Maybe you think of a bowl of rice or a bowl of tofu. Right, Chia? Your daily bread, right? God, give us this day our daily bread. But this is the point. We're not just praying for bread. In the Bible, bread is used in a representative way for everything that nourishes your physical life. Right? That's what we really mean when we're saying bread. Everything that nourishes the body, the life on earth. That's what we're talking about when we say bread. Now, since we just celebrated Reformation Day on Friday, I hope you guys all had a wonderful Reformation Day on Friday. Decorated your house with Bibles and put maybe a banner on your front door that said, salvation by faith alone. Did you celebrate properly Reformation Day on Friday? In honor of Reformation Day, I know you didn't. In honor of Reformation Day today, what I want to do is quote from Martin Luther, all right? He's the one that nailed the 95 Theses on the Wittenberg door. So let me quote he wrote a catechism. We have the Heidelberg Catechism. He wrote a catechism too that's called the Smaller Catechism. This is a quote from it. He wrote it in 1529. And he famously defined daily bread very broadly. And this is an exact quote from Martin Luther. This is what he says. Daily bread includes everything that belongs to the support and wants of the body, such as food, drink, clothing, shoes, house, home, field, cattle, money, goods, a pious spouse, pious children, pious and faithful leaders, good government, good weather, peace, health, discipline, honor, good friends, faithful neighbors, and the like. Folks, that's Martin Luther telling you what bread is. That's what you're praying for, those things. Luther's insight was that daily bread is shorthand for all of life's daily mercies, which we depend upon so much. He said this petition is not only about food, but about every need of life on earth. Now, I want you to just think for a second about the value of understanding this. I mean, like having a working understanding of this in your heart. It trains your heart to see all things as gifts from the Father's hand and to thank Him for them. Did you realize you're in training? God's training you to see all these things, all these everyday things as gifts from God and to cultivate gratitude for them. We want to see all things as a gift from God's hand. So in the morning when you wake up and you pray, God, give us this day our daily bread, you are praying, God, give us roofs over our heads. Give us jobs so we can earn money. Give us paychecks or monthly check. Give us friends and family. And then when you lay down at night and you say a prayer of gratitude. Because why? Because you can see it. With the eyes of faith, He did it again. He gave it to you. He answered your prayers. He supplied all those little things of this day. They came from His hand. Let me say it like this. Next Sunday, we have Consecration Sunday. What are we doing? Oh, I'll tell you what's at the heart of it. We're acknowledging that everything that we have is a gift from God. That's the root of it. Everything that you have comes from God. And folks, it is right to recognize that, to honor, to give back to God. It's the need of the giver to give. We have received from God. We want to give back. We want to say, God, thank you for the richness of my life. And tithing, giving back to God 1/10 of our income, is a biblical way of saying, thank you, God, for what you have done. The alternative, folks, is to say, God didn't give me this. I got this myself. This is all because of me, because of my hard work and my wits. I earned this money by my own power. But you probably know which verse I'm going to read to you from Deuteronomy chapter 8:17. Listen to this. You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember, the Lord your God. Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. All right? He's the one that does that. We are acknowledging that all our good gifts come from God, and we are expressing our ever-growing dependence on Him. You're learning it. You don't think that you're all the way. You're learning it. You're learning. He's teaching you. He's training you. You've made great progress already, but you have more to learn in depending upon God, and He will train you. He is teaching you. But this is part of it. Jesus is telling you, I want you to pray this every day. Give us this day our daily bread. Did you know that the Heidelberg Catechism, question and answer number 125, is all about what does the fourth petition mean? And I'm going to read it to you. It's because it's very insightful. Listen to this. What does the fourth petition mean? Answer. Give us this day our daily bread means, God, please take care of all our physical needs so that we come to know that you are the only source of everything good, and that neither our work and worry nor your gifts can do us any good without your blessing. And so, help us to give up our trust in creatures and trust in you alone. Whoa. Well, we need that. That's what God wants. That's the direction that he's training us. That's the way he's leading us. So let me say it like this. If you do not grow in your dependence upon God for all the necessities of life, then folks, you will be open to every kind of sickness of the soul. Therefore, let's talk about some sickness and the riches that we have in the fourth petition. Now, I'm going to give you 3 riches that we have in the fourth petition. First of all, 3 riches of the fourth petition. First of all, when you pray every day, give us this day our daily bread, you have what you need to confront and conquer a culture of worry and anxiety. Have you heard the commercial, America runs on Dunkin'? America doesn't actually run on Dunkin'. You know what America runs on? Worry, worry, worry. All people run on worry. You know, I was watching college football yesterday, and they had a commercial on there where 2 guys are sitting at a coffee bar or something, and one of them has, a new cell phone, and he looks at the app from his financial advisor, and he goes, "Oh, good, everything's on track with my retirement fund." And then he turns to his friend, "How's your retirement fund doing? Do you have enough for the future?" And what does he say? "I just go like this and cross my fingers and hope that I'll have a good retirement. I hope, I hope, I hope." What's that? America runs on worry. You're not going to have enough. You're going to run out. You need financial services. You need more money in the bank. Let me ask you, does that work? If you have that app on your phone and you have that financial provider, does that work? Do you suddenly say, "Whoa, I'm glad I don't have any more worry now that I have the app and I can see that I'm on track"? Does that work? It does not work. Why are you looking at me with blank stares? I should see vigorous. It doesn't work. Haven't you tried? It doesn't work. You're still going to worry. If even you get one thing going in the right direction, there's 10 other things that are going in the wrong direction. You're going to worry. It doesn't work. We live in a culture of worry. It's our default mode. Why? Because we're putting all the pressure. We're depending upon ourselves, our own wits, and our own power. The only one that can save the day is me. Oh gosh, that's a sickness of the soul, folks. Worry and anxiety. Fears that we're going to not have enough, but trusting dependence on God every day, that is life-giving. We use the word shalom. You've got peace. When you're depending on God, things can be going in the wrong direction and you still know He's in control. That works. Okay? I'm not saying we don't go to work in the morning. I'm not saying we don't do our best. But at the end of the day, what are you depending on? You're depending on God. And so you're not sick in the soul. You actually have peace there because you really are learning to depend on Him. You really are trusting Him. A little bit more every day. Oh, how critical it is. Now, secondly, when you pray, "Give us this day our daily bread," this is what starts to happen to you. You begin to see with joyful clarity the sacred in the ordinary. Oh, folks, this is a gift. This is one of the riches of the fourth petition. See, because you're asking God to give us this day our daily bread, And then when the little things come, you say, oh, it's from God. Now what is that? Is that just a naive person that says that? Not according to Jesus. That's a person who's seeing accurately and finding great joy in actual reality. Every single little gift is from God's hand. You know the scripture for that, James chapter 1, verse 17. It says, every good and perfect gift comes down to us from the Father of lights. That's truth. That's reality. Every little gift is coming directly from the hand of God. And you, the more you pray this prayer and the more you deepen your dependence upon God, daily dependence upon God, the more you're seeing it. And the more your heart's delighting in it. God is giving you that. So many good things to rejoice in because it's the sacred, even in those little things. Oh, how blessed we are. You know, you think that's just a lunch that you packed in your lunchbox. Folks, that's your daily bread. That's from God. That's the sacred. He's giving you that because he loves you. That's exciting. We want to live like that. That's not a soul that's sick. That's a soul that's really alive because you see the sacred in the ordinary. Thirdly, the word I'm going to use here is contentment. But I want to show you the dimensions of this vast, deep, wide contentment that is yours. You know, the sickness would be discontent. You're never content. Oh, gosh. But the riches is contentment that you have when you are praying as Jesus instructed you to pray. Give us this day our daily bread. When Jesus said that, when he told his disciples to pray like that, it's built right into the prayer. Sufficiency. Enough for the day. Enough. Give us this day our daily bread. He does not teach us to pray, give us excess, like enormous excess, like 400, give us this day 400 days worth of bread. No, of course not. Enough, sufficiency, what you need, in other words, what you need. The right amount. Do you guys understand that? There is such a thing as the right amount. Now, an American says, no, there's not. Right? Right? Developed nations, no, there's not. There's never enough. We want more. That's what we're all about. More, more, more. And God says, no. That's a sickness of the soul. That's called discontent. Sufficiency is contentment. You have enough. You know your Father's going to give you enough. And you're satisfied. You're content. I remember my dad, in later years, he got reflective. My dad was a type A. You guys know what type A is, right? We have any type A's here? Okay. You're busy people, right? I'm dyed in the old type B, but that doesn't mean I don't have problems. But my dad was type A. But at the end, he couldn't do anything. That's like torture for a type A. He had neuropathy in his feet. He lost his balance. He was overweight. He just couldn't do all the stuff that he used to do. And then he finally got reflective. And I remember one day I was sitting with him alone. This was precious to me. This is kind of what I longed for all my life with my dad. At the end, when he really slowed down, we would just sit in chairs and talk. And one of the things I said to my dad was, Dad, when you look back on your life, do you have any regrets? What are the regrets of your life? And he thought for a minute, and then he said, David, I have this memory of like one of the busiest times in my life after you were born and your sister was born, and I was clearing the land for this little cottage that we were going to build on the lake. I worked like a dog all day clearing brush. It was nothing but, you couldn't even see through it. It was over your head kind of brush. I cleared all day, cleared the brush all day, and then I was exhausted, And I went, and the only place to lay down was the dock. There was like a wooden dock there. He went and he laid down on the dock, and he just looked up at the sky and just breathed. And he said, you know something? I thought to myself, right now, while I'm laying right here, is the happiest I've ever been. And what he was explaining to me was, because I'm like pausing, like I'm resting, I'm enjoying the riches that God has given me. And he said, I wish I did that more. That's a regret. I wish I did that more. Just appreciated what God has supplied. It's enough. I don't need that much. He's given me enough, and I'm satisfied. Jesus is teaching us this, to pray this prayer. Instead of praying for 400 days of food, he's teaching us to pray, and he's making a reference to a different Old Testament passage, which once again the disciples would have recognized this. And it's from chapter 30, verse 7 through 9. I'm going to read it, and then you tell me which book it is. 2 things I ask of you, Lord, and I want you to see if you think that this is wisdom or not, all right? 2 things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. That's how we know that Jesus was referring to this, because there it is. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of my God. 2 great dangers. It comes from Proverbs chapter 30. 2 great dangers. One of the huge dangers is that you might have too much. That's something to pray against. Oh, it's a great danger. You know, I remember a man telling me that he wanted to win the lottery because it was $160 million that day. And I said to him, it would ruin you. It would destroy you. And you know what he said to me? Pastor David, he said, Pastor David, I would like to try. He said, just let me try. I will do so much good with it. But I am not convinced that he could handle it, because if you're not giving 10% already, you're not going to give 10% even if you get $160 million. If you're not honoring God, if you're not already saying, I use this money for you, God. I'm just telling you, that's a sign that you won't do it when you get 160 million. I'm just telling you. And the author of this Proverbs, his name was Agur, this part of Proverbs, he's saying, God, I'm mature enough to know that if you give me too much, I'm going to forget about you, and I'm going to say, who is the Lord? I've got all I need. I just depend on my 160 million. And then, of course, there's this other danger. God, if I'm too poor. Folks, you know, in America, we sit back and talk about how terrible is the drug trade, how terrible is prostitution. You know, it's so easy for us to look at the gross sins of the world and say, oh, I'm so glad I'm not like them. Well, guess what, folks? When you're poor, you're going to be a prostitute. When you're poor, you're going to join a gang. When you're poor, you're going to get into drugs. You're going to sell drugs because you can get money that way. And the author of this proverb is saying, God, I know it. I know it. Oh, how dreadful that I would do those things and dishonor your name because I was poor. Therefore, I'm praying just enough, the right amount, Oh God, please give me the right amount. I don't trust myself. I trust you. Folks, let's be honest about it. We live in a culture of abundance. We are trained to want more. We're not content with what we have. But look at the wisdom of this prayer that Jesus is definitely alluding to. This person is asking God, first of all, don't make me rich. And second of all, don't let me be too poor. Give me the right amount, and then I'll truly be content with that what you give. Those are three riches of the fourth petition. But I want to tell you the greatest riches of all. And I'm not making this up. When you go back and look at the early church fathers, and if you could ask, like Augustine, for example, who lived like 350 into the 400s AD, or Tertullian, who was like 2nd century, or Origen, who was way back then. If you went to the early church and you asked those leaders of the early church, what does that mean, the petition? Folks, across the board, all of them saw two meanings. They first of all saw what I've just been talking about. It's talking about the bread of daily living, the needs of our physical body. But they also said that it's talking about spiritual bread. They see that Jesus is teaching us to pray not only for physical nourishment, to nourish our bodies, to sustain our earthly lives, but also they saw it loud and clear. Jesus is teaching you to pray for the spiritual bread, which is, of course, himself. The reason that they could say that is that Jesus, scripturally, this is why you can say that. It's not just like a preacher's license or something like that. The reason you can say it is Jesus unmistakably identifies himself with manna. Listen to what it says in John chapter 6. I'm going to read from verse 32. Jesus said to them, John 6:32, Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. And guess what Jesus says next? I am the bread of life. He can't make it any clearer. Do you know that 2 times Jesus multiplied a few loaves of bread and some fish to feed a multitude? He did a miracle, and we know that miracles are also called signs because signs point to something. Signs are trying to give you a message. In fact, Jesus scolded the people when he got to the other side of the lake, and he says, very truly I tell you, you know why you're looking for me? It's not because you saw a sign. It's not because you read the sign and saw the direction, the thing that the sign was pointing to. You're looking for me because you ate your fill of the loaves. You didn't read the sign. You weren't even looking at what the sign was all about. Well, what did the sign say? I'm the bread. Now, if we just ask and say, well, how is Jesus like bread? Folks, bread doesn't do you any good unless you break it. You have to break it. You can't just say, look, I have a beautiful loaf of bread and I'm never going to break it. I'm going to keep it whole like this. Well, guess what? It's not going to do you any good. Well, Jesus is like that too. He couldn't do us any good until he was broken. And folks, when Jesus is teaching us to pray, give us this day our daily bread, he's saying, oh, you need Jesus every day. You need him every day. Partake of him every day. Oh, eat your spiritual food. Drink from the spiritual cup. What are we talking about? We're talking about the gospel, the knowledge that you're accepted by God. This is your deepest need. You know, we run around trying to be accepted by other people. We're really worried about what other people say about us or what other people think about us. But what really matters is, am I accepted by God? Because if you know, if you're really eating this bread and you're praying for it every day, that I will eat this spiritual bread every day, then you are going to know deep in your soul, I am right with God. I'm accepted by God. You know, He loves me even though I'm such a mess. Folks, it's real. We see our sins. We see our own sickness. Oh, she knows. I got in a car accident this week. Oh, in Lincroft. I took my eyes off the road again. I've done this before. And I ran into the person behind me. I can't tell you how much I hate that I did that. I mean, it costs a fortune, of course. But I'm killing myself because, like, I'm hating myself that I did that. Have you ever done something like that where you just say, you are so stupid. I hate you. You're talking to yourself. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Folks, time to have some daily bread, because how does that change the equation? He still loves me. He's like, forget about it, Dave. Let it go. It's over. We'll work it out. I love you. Let that go. Folks, we need that. That's a sickness of the soul. If you never eat your spiritual bread, all you've got is like, how am I doing? How am I doing? Am I doing okay? Am I doing enough? Am I doing right? Well, you need to have the bread from heaven that says, I love you even though you've messed up. Oh, what a treasure that is. Folks, that's the riches of the fourth petition. Pray it every day, that daily dependence. You need this every single day. When you get up, just think, I have to pray. Even if I'm really in a hurry, I have really got to pray before I go out the door. I need my daily bread. And you're not just praying for yourself, it's give us our daily bread. You know why? Because that way it's training you. When you have a little bit of extra, you're not just praying for yourself. You might be the answer to somebody else's prayer who's saying, give us this day our daily bread. When you're able to say, I have some extra, and you give that to somebody like you guys are doing today, oh my goodness, you are right in the middle of the kingdom of God. God is advancing His kingdom through you. Give us this day. Give us this day. Give all of us this day our daily bread. You're not just saying, give me this day my daily bread, and I don't care about any. Can you imagine if Jesus taught us to pray that way? Give us this day our daily bread. All right? We want to make sure everybody's got their daily bread.